you everybody for joining us. Um, Thanks to the folks that are viewing us after the fact. Just want to acknowledge that West Kootenay Regional Arts Council is on unceded Sinixt territory, who are not extinct. We also want to acknowledge that there are overlapping land claims with the Ktunaxa and Selix nations to this region. We respect this land and graciously defer to the knowledge and wisdom of the Indigenous elders of this territory. Yeah, so with that, I think I'll pass it off to Kaylee. Did you want to say anything about funding?
Yeah, I will just throw
Awesome.
a quick thank you to the BC Arts Council for making this workshop possible and the whole workshop series that we're presenting. You can find all the other recordings as well up on our YouTube channel for West Kootenay Regional Arts Council. And thanks, Jenny and Heidi, for being here and for your flexibility for rescheduling as well. Glad we could finally make this happen. So I will disappear and hand it over to you.
Awesome.
You wait. Okay. Hi, my name is Jenny Lee Craig, and I am an artist living on the traditional territories of the Tsleil-Waututh, the Musqueam, and the Squamish peoples. And I'm here with Heidi Nagtegaal. We collaborate on a project called Center, which is a project that it's kind of hard to describe, but we are interested in promoting or in talking about starting conversations about equity, diversity, inclusion, hoping to make things more equitable to help voices of marginalized artists and artists that maybe don't feel like they fit in the mainstream, among other things. I am an artist and I am also an arts administrator. I do a lot of work with many festivals here in Vancouver. So I work for about 6 or 7, including the Film Fest, the Jazz Fest, Push International Performing Arts Festival, Just for Laughs Comedy Festival, doing all sorts of different arts admin things and logistical planning. I also have a practice in experimental theater and participatory art-based practices, community-based art. I used to run a project called Tin Can Studio, which was a mobile studio on wheels that did art interventions and participatory based projects around the Lower Mainland. Yeah, so that's a little bit about me. And do you want to pass it on? I'll pass it on to Heidi now.
You forgot one thing, Jenny. That you make really cool experimental plays.
I do. I make experimental
My favorite
theater.
pieces that you do. They're really great. If anyone sees a play by Jenny, you need to see it. They're wonderful. They're quirky. Makes all the costumes herself. Really participant based. I've been in 2 of them. They're fantastic. My name is Heidi Nagtegaal. I have a few different hats that I wear. I also do arts administration with Center, the group that me and Jenny formed, which is kind of like, we made a triangle once for arts, activism, and then space, the idea of how do we use spaces, and spaces that aren't not necessarily thought of, like the internet or tertiary spaces that are like third spaces, like what do we do about these sort of overlooked spaces? So that was sort of like a bit of our theoretical framework. And obviously lots of advocacy has come out of it. So we just are nerds for that. I run a small business selling tarot. I'm a tarot reader by trade. So I have a tarot company, I guess, called Tarot Times with Heidi, and it's got a care team. So there's a therapist on staff, and then also, anyway, I'm a small business person. Maybe I shouldn't talk too much. So that one, and then I also run a clothing company where we make tarot t-shirts and distribute them nationally. And then Hammock Residency I started 10 years ago, and then now I'm starting my succession plan. So I'm getting people on board so that one day I can step off. Jenny is very kindly doing all of our books. So thank you, Jenny, for that and helping us with long-term planning. And then Center, and then I also just do like arts advocacy within like disability arts organizations like with OPAC, Open Access Foundation for Arts and Culture, and We Press, community-based printmaking. And I also just do work as an artist, so like showing and making work. And hopefully next year I will be writing grants for my own art projects, and I've just been writing grants for AMIC, so that feels pretty exciting. So that's kind of, me and Jenny are bringing a bit of a digital toolkit today, from all the different paths that we're artists, we're administrators, but also small business people. And that's a unique blend of hats to wear, you know. Those groups don't necessarily speak to each other necessarily. And so we're here to kind of give you sort of what we think is a crash course and like the very basics. And like, if you needed one course to get you from like, I don't know what I'm doing to like, maybe I have a bit of a clue about what I'm doing, this is sort of meant to be like a care pack, sort of. Yeah. Just
Yeah, I think you know, we were thinking about the tools that we use kind of on a daily basis, especially if you're juggling like various projects. So, you know, maybe you have different Instagram accounts or you have different things. So what are the tools that we find really help streamline that process? That's what we wanted to share with you. What do we find really user friendly? Because not, you know, neither of us code, so we want it to be as like easy and foolproof as possible, to help represent ourselves online. Also, and Heidi knows this because she's actually coached me through this a lot, but you know, like I have a real resistance to even wanting to represent myself online. It makes me feel really vulnerable. So some of these tools help that as well, to help you, you know, use these interfaces that you maybe don't feel as, or I feel like they help me feel a little less like vulnerable. So hopefully they're tools that help you. There's my dog's barking in the background. Sorry about that.
yeah.
um, so yeah, I guess I can jump in and start with we have a little slideshow that will help us sort of organize what we're going to represent to you. And Heidi has a lot of the first slides that she's going to explain.
Yeah.
Do you want to start, Heidi, or do you have anything
I
else you
mean,
want to
I
add?
think one thing to think about is like the internet is such a huge part of how we brand everything. And if you are not controlling the algorithm will control you. Like if you aren't actively engaging with it, it's just going to do whatever it does to you, and you're going to feel really powerless and like voiceless, and like what's the point of even using this. And so some of these tools are just about like how to make it so that you're an active participant with it, because that is where everyone is these days. Like I like went to get advertising, which I never have done before, for some of my small businesses, and the person that I talked to was like, oh, we don't even do banners or ads anymore. What we do is we pay Google to do Google AdWords, or we retarget people. So like it's all in the algorithm, and we are unfortunately needing to really, besides word of mouth, like participate in it. So this is a lot of it is on like your your digital resource, your online toolkit. So yeah, how to really take control of that. Like take as much control back as you can. Like no one's going to be Amazon, or I'm not here because I have like a pie in the sky idea about that I'm Elon Musk. I'm not, and I don't have that same clout. But like if you're actively involved in it, it's empowering, and it lessens the fear of interacting with it, because it's not just like a drop being thrown into an ocean. Like there's a bit more like girth there. Anyway, that's my pre-ramble about that. Yes, Jenny, please send on the slideshow. That would be
Okay, so here is our first slide. Oop. So, sorry, there we go. Okay, so we did our introductions. Okay, so our first topic was scheduling, with Calendly and Later. So Heidi, do you want to talk about these tools?
sure. So one thing that I found is that, you know, as we all know, Instagram is like highly addictive. So the idea of putting yourself out there for your work can be really hard on your mental health, especially if you don't have, like I have, mental health issues. And so it can just be really overwhelming and overstimulating. And so I use these apps to Later is an application that you can use to book your posts in the future. So you go to later.com and there is a free version. If you like, this is what I would recommend doing, is use the free version. And if you love it, like I end up loving it, and I have like the extreme package now, but you get like 10 posts for free a month. And you can actually, oh, Jenny, you're so sweet. Like you can actually plan out your month, and you put all your images down, and then you drag and drop them into the calendar, and you make all of your posts in advance. And then what's happening is that they're rolling out, and all you have to do is comment on it when it's happening. So like for me, I find it super crucial to have all my posts planned out like a month or two in advance, because it's way too stressful to like sit there and try to figure it all out, on your phone. And it's just really frustrating. Also, later we'll show you like highlight times on your calendar when you're booking, to show you which times are your audience looking at you. So it's not like people like worldwide, it's like Wednesday at 10 o'clock is the most quick time. If you're not going to use later, just post at Wednesday at 10 a.m. You'll get more people. But if you are looking at because everyone's got their own little niche community that's following them, right? And your people might be checking on the Instagram after they put the kids to bed, or on their lunch break, or and every group kind of has different people. Like I know that for my different companies, like there is vastly different times that people watch it at. So just sort of programming it in. It also makes it easier to do things like image descriptions and hashtags, because it'll generate hashtags for you based on what's trending. So you don't have to like keep up with that. You just sort of fill in the blanks. It prompts you for things like location and your website, so you can link everything in. It'll allow you to tag products. So if you're selling things, if you're using a website like Shopify, you can add the products, so your people can bring you right. That post will bring you right to the web page. There's a lot sort of brought into it. It's super helpful. I found my mental health got a lot better after I started using this. Also, something to think about, this isn't what we're doing our entire presentation on, but it's worthwhile to say that people get hung up on like, what should my content be on Instagram? And you have to identify things called brand pillars. Basically, what are the things you like to post about? So for me, with my tarot business, it's like questions people ask me, and then weird pictures of myself, pictures of the care team, lives with me and the care team, and the occasional class that I post about. And then between those pillar content, I just make sure that it's one of those 5 things, and we're all good. You might have an aesthetic that you have. I have an aesthetic that I use. But those are things you don't need to have to start out with. Those are things you can kind of niche out and build up as you go on. But if you are not even at the point where you can think about what would I even post on the internet, think about what are my brand pillars, and try to come up with 3. Just 3 things that you would post at. And
yeah, I think we're going to talk about content.
Oh, amazing. Great. Okay, great.
We have a slide for that one. So we're going to talk about content.
Awesome.
I know, like I didn't know about later until Heidi told me, and I found it really useful. You can, I think with the free version, even you can put a couple of different sort of Instagram and Facebook, and other social media accounts if you're using other ones too, Twitter, Pinterest, whatever you're using, into your profile, and then you can have this one post go out to all of the same ones at the same time. It's a little bit similar, I guess, to Facebook's Creative Business Suite, but I found it a lot simpler to use. It's really visual. So, and there's a lot of like that, all of that sort of helping you generate hashtags and helping suggest what to post and when to post. I found it to be really, really good software for that. And there is a free account that allows you like a fairly good amount of posts a month, especially if you're an artist who's like trying to promote your work. I think it would cover sort of generally what the kind of amount of content you want to be posting, so that you make sure that the algorithm knows that you're engaging, but you're not overwhelming it as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and they have different amounts that you should post based on how big your business is. If you have a small business, posting 3 times a week is fine. Don't worry about trying to do more, and even once a week is better than nothing. And you can also do TikToks, you can do Reels, you can do lives, you can do slides. It's all covered. Calendly is another total time saver. It's my favorite thing in the whole world because I used to spend most of my time with my businesses DMing clients, figuring out a good time to have studio visits or tarot readings or appointments. And this also has a free version. So the free version with Calendly, so I have a very extensive Calendly, has like probably 50 different events on it, but the free version, you can have one event. So if your event, you could have one event for free. And what it does is that it allows you to offer something. So for one free event, I have a free account with my art because I only really need a studio visit. So I just have talk to me about art, and then anyone that wants to talk to me about art, if it's a curator, if it's other people wanting to buy things, if it's other artists wanting to connect, they can just do it that way. But Calendly will allow you to sync to Zoom, to your phone. So when people are booking an appointment, you can integrate Zoom, your Gmail, you can integrate your text, you can integrate different platforms. So it basically syncs it up. So you can set up your Calendly. So when someone, say Jenny books a session with me through my Calendly, I have it set up through a workflow where it'll tell Jenny, it'll send Jenny a text being like, you have this date booked, and send an email to Jenny. And then it also sends a reminder email 2 days before, or you can make it an hour before if you wanted. I just have it set up for 2 days before. So it takes a lot of the guesswork out. And if someone cancels the event, it'll tell everybody. I have mine set up with PayPal, so now my people just pay me through PayPal and don't have to, get an e-transfer, find people later if they forget to pay. It's all integrated. There's 10 questions that you can ask people. So I have security questions like, so Tarot Times with Heidi is not a psychiatrist or a doctor, and then I agree to the terms and conditions. Like there's 10 questions I have just because for legal reasons, I don't have a lawyer. I have a small business lawyer, but I don't have a lawyer. It's a way of covering myself and making sure that people are really clear
Yeah,
about
basically you've built in your service waiver into Calendly.
Exactly. And yeah, 100%. It just makes everything, so any sort of things you kind of want to get out of the way beforehand, it's perfect for that.
Yeah, so especially if you have some sort of service-based business or a service-based practice, that's a good way to keep your schedule.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
even if you're an artist and you want to have some parameters, like a question could be like, I understand that a studio visit and me talking about an art piece does not mean that I have that art piece on hold for me. I understand that seeing something online, other people might be bidding on the same art piece, and until I've paid for it, it's not mine. Things like that where you can I understand there's not like a changing price tag, like stuff around payment, stuff around consent even. It's helpful. You don't think you have questions until you ask yourself if you do, because then all of a sudden you'll find you do. That Calendly saved so much time. I went from 2 hours of admin a day just on emailing clients back and forth to like 10 to 15 minutes. And most of that is me reviewing my Calendly, who booked when, is there a question? It makes you something in Google Calendar at the same time. It puts your web link in there, it puts your phone number in there, it puts your address for meeting in person in there. It gets rid of all of so many, it just automates it and makes it a lot easier.
And Heidi, is the free version sort of fairly robust? I don't use Calendly. I mean, I have used it for a couple of times, but I don't use it on the regular. It's not something that I need because I don't have that many appointments in that same way. But yeah, so that's just my question.
Yeah, it is actually. You get all the same options in the free version, but you can only have one event. So if you think to yourself, okay, I want more than one event, then you'll probably, but even if you up it to the next level, it's $7 a month. So like the pro version, it cost me $150 a month, and I have like every option. There's even a doodle poll option that you can, instead of when can we, I mean, you can do it through Calendly now. It's a free doodle, and you can integrate it, and they'll actually like hold those times so that no one can book it. If you want, you can also mean like it's a great, is an incredibly good value. It's an incredibly good value, and it's pretty easy to learn. Their help feature is easy as well. You can also, if you have like a team of people, you can do the next level up after that, which is everyone can have their own calendar to book off of. You can grow with your business. I recommend it. So many people, there's been a lot of artists actually who have decided to use it because people were assuming their time. Like if I see this person, I can talk to them about their art, and they're like, actually, I have a life and I want you to book an appointment with me, during this time. I'm ready to talk about art with you. Right now I'm shopping, or right now I'm bringing my kids to daycare, or right now I'm shoveling my walk because it snowed outside, like he just gave a little bit of that work-life balance, especially to people that had a hard time with that balance, especially for artists, because it's such a part of your identity. So the people that I've recommended, they came away happy, and it's user friendly, and even the free version is not hard to use, and it is fairly robust. But even the paid version is like 150 a year, so it's
You feel like it's a good value.
such good value, such good value. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, we can move on to the next one here. Hold on. I lost my slideshow, but let's see. Okay, so Zoom. We're all on Zoom right now.
Jenny, do you
So
want to take this
you know,
one?
I mean, I don't have too much to say about Zoom, but I think it has absolutely transformed the way we are meeting and working. 3 years ago, video meeting wasn't a big part of my life, and now I use it like literally every day. Um, for me, it is worth it to have a paid account so that I can have meetings that last longer than 45 minutes. But even if you don't, the free version, allows you to schedule 45-minute meetings, and then you can just start another meeting if you run out of time.
Mhm.
Um, I've used Zoom for everything. I mean, during the pandemic, I had hangouts with friends on Zoom. Um, so I find it super user friendly and really easy to use. Um, but you must all have a Zoom account if you're here on Zoom. Um, so I don't know. Yeah, I don't have too much to say about it except that it's it's definitely my go-to in terms for video conferencing. There are some organizations I work with that might use Teams or Google Meet, but Zoom, I don't know, Zoom is my preference, or it's the one that I go to mostly. How do you use it for your meetings?
Yeah, I use it for everything. I agree. I think Zoom is way easier to use than Google Teams. And Google Teams is free, so if you do want to use Google Teams, just go for it. Also, Zoom and Google Teams have integrations with Google Calendar, and so you can just book it right from your Google Calendar.
Cool. Yeah, and that's actually when Heidi and I are scheduling our meetings. She creates Google Calendar links and it sends me a Google Calendar link with a Zoom link, so it's really really quite handy. Um, I don't do that, but I should. I think it's a really good practice, or it makes it quite easy.
Hmm. Before you go for Jenny,
Mm.
they them, and they them.
Oh, I know.
We've known each other for
Sorry
like
about that.
15
I know.
years, and I didn't go by they them until like a year ago. So like, it's
It's
not
habit.
disrespect. This is literally thousands of conversations buried in. But yeah, they them.
Thank you, Heidi. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no problems.
Okay, so we can move on to social media. Heidi, Instagram. So let's talk. I'm sure all of you use Instagram, but yeah, why don't you take us on a little.
Do you want to talk about what you have first, just so I don't motor over you?
No, I think you really know Instagram well, and I feel like you should take this one.
Okay, for sure. So Instagram, I have a lot of people that are love-hate about Instagram because it's everything from like digital security to takes all their time away. But the point is that it's actually quite unavoidable. Like if you have an online business, Instagram is akin to a website. Like it is easier for people to find you on Instagram than it is to find your website. Like you need to have one. You just need to have one. And the best thing for managing Instagram is actually using Later, just using that tool. And if you, or like, actually, I don't even want to use there's another one called Preview, but Preview is a worse Instagram scheduler. You only have one option for when to post. It just puts it out at 10 a.m. every day. Is not as good, but it is another option. But using one of those like Instagram scheduling apps is the way to go, because otherwise Instagram TM is just way too hard on your mental health to like get your picture and then get on your little phone. And so just use the scheduling apps. It will change your life. But Instagram, and you have to use it. You just really need to use it. And the thing I like about Instagram, and I think most people like about Instagram, is that it's really easy to get a visual snapshot of your business. Like if I tell someone what I do, I'm like, oh, I do tarot reading. They're like, oh, what's your Insta? Oh, Tarot Times with Heidi. Okay, so now they plug that in, and immediately they're scrolling through like 30 posts. Immediately they can tell, oh, you've got this person's on staff, these are the questions. Oh, that sounds really doable. It immediately makes you relatable. Like it gives a really good snapshot. And people are visual. Like our oldest, before we talked, we used images. The visual language is incredibly powerful, and don't underestimate the power of even a few shitty pictures on the internet, especially younger people. Like this is my cat getting head. Especially younger people, they don't really care if you have a good Instagram or not. Like they just care that you have something, because so this is my Instagram. So as you can see, I kind of have this aesthetic of questions that people asked me. So questions people ask me are just on top of fabric. And then every fourth image is the picture of just a non-question image that just kind of breaks up the algorithm. I also really just like knowing that I have 3 questions and then a weird picture, and then 3 questions and then a picture. It just helps me figure it out. Otherwise, I think I get kind of stuck. Sometimes I do it every other, but sometimes I do 1 picture, but most of the time it's 3. And people really respond to my Instagram because it's well curated, it's clear. And you don't really have to, like, you get a sense of who I am and what I'm doing this and why I'm doing this. And that's really what people want. People want to kind of size you up and just see, do they vibe with you before they're gonna book a reading with me. They have to make sure that they vibe with me, right? Or for
Heidi, what would your suggestions be for folks if they're showing their artwork?
artwork, what you're trying to do is express an aesthetic. So if I think about, I'm thinking more about like by Tooth and Claw clothing, that one, because that one is more, I have products, for my art, my art is all like in like interventions and performances are not very object based, but for a lot of people, like their art, think about it as expressing an aesthetic. So for my art account, it's just my name, Heidi Nagtegaal, and I do a lot of facilitation as well. And so for my art account, I actually don't post very much. I just post when I do a show or when I do a talk. I didn't post about this, but maybe I should. And it's just when something is happening. But that's because I don't have a product. With Tarot Times and with By Tooth and Claw clothing, I'm actively trying to sell that product, like Tarot Times being a service and By Tooth and Claw being clothing. And so I post regularly for those accounts. if that makes sense.
Yeah, so maybe we can actually show the center.
Oh yeah, show center.
Maybe you can talk a little bit. So Heidi sort of takes care of our Instagram, so maybe you can talk a little bit about what what your approach was for this account.
Yeah, because center was mostly conversations. Like we just had lots and lots of conversations. So we used a free app in Google called Jamboard. If you go to your 9 dots with your Google account, you go right down to the forums, you'll see Jamboard. And Jamboard lets you create these stickies, that's what they call them, and then put in different quotes. So these are all things that our participant of our advisory committee what really generates. Like what is the purpose of art? Art is kind of a role when you can do go into a bit of chaos and then go through a change. One of the features of a third space is that it's operating outside of the periphery. Third spaces are trying to create more space for the radical in art in the face of institutionalization. So like these sort of concepts are really meta, like we're not going to be able to express them with an image really. And so we just took screenshots from our conversations and put them up. And then in the caption, talked a little bit about it and then had open it up to a conversation. And it also doubled as just being transparent with our process. So you can see that there's like a little bit of like a caption and there's image descriptions for the 2 slides, hashtags, image credit, and then a link to the Jamboard just so people know what that is.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about image descriptions and the importance of them?
Yeah, image descriptions are really interesting because well, I mean, for people that are visually impaired or they see differently, they're yeah, they need a description. So the thing about it is that you think, oh, I'm just doing this for like people that are visually impaired or for blind people, and like how many blind people are really looking at my feed? But the thing is that I use visual descriptions. Like whenever there's a visual description up, everybody reads it. And it gives a little bit more information and it gives a bit more of the factual information. So this image description says, the text says, a lot of voices are emitted due to bias on a lime green square on a white background, a snapshot from a Jamboard by we generated during our Zoom meetings. So like even in that image description, there's information that isn't in our caption, that it's like from a Zoom meeting, from a conversation, there's a screenshot. There's information there that you wouldn't necessarily get normally. Or like for the image descriptions I do for By Tooth and Claw, it's really interesting because the models that I work with that are modeling the clothing, they'll put really like sassy things in their image description, like this was modeled on a sunny afternoon and I felt like a sassy being. You see a white woman in the a white woman in the square and I'm modeling this shirt and I'm really feeling myself. That's like, it's an image description, but also feels like a bit like you're getting a lot more. Or for people like on the tarot feed, you probably saw a girl with a long red hair. That person is Métis, but they're very light skinned. So in their image description, they were able to say a light skinned Métis person because in their family, half of their family is really dark skinned and look very, very native. Half their family look like really light skinned and red hair. And so it's also a way of like really speaking to race and like interracial things as well. Because otherwise it's just there's a image descriptions are fascinating. I really nerd out about them, but I think they're really important. And it's changing. It's becoming an industry standard to have like a caption. So this one just says, bias, power, radicalism, and effectiveness. Have you experienced this? And then the question is what's called a call to action. So that people have like a talking point, and the image descriptions are right after that. And then the hashtags. And then the image credit.
Yeah, and there's a little link here, the Jamboard. So that's the app we used, which was a really cool app where you can basically, it's like a big whiteboard and everybody can be on it at once and you can all be creating these little stickies. So if you're having a meeting and people have thoughts but they don't want to interject and say them, they could pop it onto the Jamboard. It was kind of a way of note taking as well, and also offering another place for people to to jump in. So that was quite cool.
Yeah,
Um,
it's decentralized note taking, which is really neat because you share it with everybody in your meeting, and you can also draw pictures.
mhm.
So it's like however you, if you feel like, well, I don't actually do language very well, you don't have to, you can draw. There's so like it's really opening up. Like Instagram is really opening up. It's visual expression. So it's about capturing a vibe or a mood, or like in film they talk about A rolls and B rolls. A rolls being like the main action, like this really important conversation happened, and then B rolls are all the mood boards, like a person walking on a field, sun filtering down, a cat, and then Instagram needs both. You need hard content, but you also need mood boards. You need a mixture of like hard content and then also like what's the vibe of your business? Like what do you like to do? What are your values? You know?
Heidi, do you have much experience making reels?
I do. I'm not the best at them, but I do make reels.
Hmm.
The low barrier way to make like a reel is worth like 5 posts because the algorithm just boosts it. So make them if you have I don't honestly always have the patience for them, so I don't make them as much as I should. But you can take still pictures and just match them to music. So Instagram will help you do it. You can go into Instagram, open it up, pick gallery, click on a bunch of still images. You don't even have to have videos, or videos if you have them. And then it'll ask you to bring you to a screen where you can select music. You pick the music that you want. They break it into like country, lo-fi, upbeat, like so they're just kind of vibes. And pick your vibe and then attach it to the music. And then you can do a little bit of editing, but it's really not a whole lot of editing. Like unless
Hmm.
you're doing really fancy TikToks where you're like all dancing in sequence or something, like for an intro person making reels, which are just as effective in a lot of ways, you don't need, it's pretty easy to do that. And then you can export it. You can also um, download captions through Threads if you want to attach captions. But Instagram will also, for lives, it will generate auto captioning, which I mean, when you're doing like host nation names, that is very awkward. But for most, it's an algorithm, and they're getting better at recognizing. And it's like even now, it's way better than it was 3 years ago.
Yeah, so I mean, don't have a lot of experience with reels, but I was reading an article recently about the importance of them,
Mhm.
um, because they do show up in people's discover. So um, you have a much better chance at being shown to people who don't follow you by making reels. And the algorithm is at this point, but obviously this is always changing, but they're really rewarding the people that make reels by making those reels pop into sort of that general feed. It was kind of an answer to TikTok. Heidi, have you used TikTok at all?
I have. I don't. That's where I should be going. Like, if you really wanted to, if you were gonna start something new, just start TikTok because it's where everyone's gonna end up. But Instagram is more multi-generational. So I would still say it's better probably to do Instagram.
Yeah, what do you think about like if someone's making visual art that's sort of still or, based like a
Just take your
product?
just take your camera, walk up to the object, look at it from different angles. That's all you need to do.
Right.
Or even like just a still frame, and then you have like music playing, or you can have different words on the side. Like this took me 2 years to make. I'm so proud of myself. Just finished it yesterday. Press heart to like it. That would get you a lot of likes. My partner Jason is a metal worker. He cutting metal with I'm cutting metal with photons. Is his hashtag, is his handle, and he just takes pictures of the machines sometimes at work. Nothing really. He doesn't even put music on it. He is just, this is me working. Very working class. We'll post it. He had like 5,000 views the other day.
On his reel.
Yeah,
Hmm.
5,000 likes and then more views. Yeah, that's how it worked. Like you don't even need to add the music if you don't want to. Just take a 10-second video walking up around your art, you know, picking it up. Like the videos where they like have a picture of the hand reaching down, picking up, because that's really what you want to do is want to go through your screen and like touch the art or interact with it. And so you're kind of giving people that.
Interesting, yeah. Okay, well, maybe we can talk then about Linktree.
True. Linktree, yeah.
So I can show you Linktree right here, and maybe Heidi, you can talk a little bit about why Linktree is useful. Maybe there's a
A
better
better
one.
Linktree would be on my personal Instagram because I have
Okay.
quite a bit of links up there. So that's just Heidi.
Okay, that's at Heidi.
Yeah, they're right.
Oh, another thing we should actually maybe chat about just quickly is stories.
Yeah, stories are important. So stories are when you take a post or like when I like for Tooth and Claw and for Tarot Times with Heidi, I go through the feed and I also have someone that does it with me. And anything that they think is relatable, they'll just press share and they share it to stories. And it just means that your Instagram doom scrolling is going to use for something because people will watch stories. Like 300 people watch Instagram, like the Tarot Times with Heidi, 300 people watch those stories. So what I do for Tarot Times is that if you advertise too much, people get kind of tired of it. So 90% of my stories are just like facts about trauma, some cool fundraiser somewhere, emotional awareness, that kind of, or like a cute puppy or something. And then a class is coming up, so it's not just like in your face. And that works really well. It means people kind of go there to have a bit of like a rest stop in their Instagram scrolling. And if you've watched someone's Instagram before, then they'll bring it up again. So if you're known as a spot to go to just have a nice break from the internet, then you'll pop up higher. But this is what Linktree is. So Linktree is that little link in your Instagram. This is basically a way to get around making a website. So there's your web link right there. You click on it, and then so that the first one is an interview that I just did. The second one is a link to Calendly, so you can have a studio visit with me. The third one is about hammock residency. Fourth one's about center. It just goes through the different projects, and then people can just link away and like know what I'm doing in the different areas. And I've made it so that it's quite casual. You don't have to like my different like for I would say my Tooth and Claw clothing. If you go to Tooth and Claw clothing, just so you can see that link tree, because this one is quite casual. Because most of the people that do art with me are very conversation. Buy Tooth and Claw clothing. There it is. So that's the one. And then you can click on that link tree, and it's a little different. So the web store is the first link, and then there's a collaboration that I do with another business. And then there's a spotlight like people can apply for modeling, so that's a link. And then there's a link to tarot reading, but you can see at the bottom how there's links to all the different Instagram and social media handles. And you can see the difference between this one because you have the backdrop, and then my art one, which had no backdrop. My art one that had no backdrop, that is a free link tree. So it's totally free. You don't have to pay anything for it. And then the one, if you want fancy backdrops, it's a whole $7 a month. And it also tells you algorithms, like how many people clicked on each link and when. So if I made a sale or a promotional push on Instagram, it'll show me how effective it is.
And you can have more of these kind of icons at the bottom because I noticed you have your Etsy store. So that could be helpful for artists if you're selling your work on Etsy or on your own website on Shopify or something like that.
Exactly. And if you are on Shopify, which is a really nice website, that's what click on the web store, Jenny, because that's actually Shopify. So you can make and then scroll down to look at the website, shop the entire store. So this is on Shopify. You can make your own website. So I've made a really simple one. It's pretty clear. And what I've done is I've integrated it with Etsy so that Etsy has a search function. That means I'm getting all of the search functions from Etsy, but then I'm also getting all of the integrated things that Shopify offers, being able to make your own webpage because they don't let you do that on Etsy. That's sort of a best of both worlds. So if you're an artist and you want to kind of control your aesthetic, I would get a Shopify at $350 a year. But you make a website off of it, and then you can integrate with Etsy, you can integrate with Pinterest. People like
Right.
making mood boards. If you put your art in there and put a tag, like everything you can do through later, it links to your website. So if someone is like so if someone's like, oh, I like this patch from Tooth and Claw, I'm going to put it on my mood board, that pin will link to my website and will generate sales if people actually want to buy it.
Right. So that paying for it sort of gets you a lot of
Yeah.
integrated function.
Yeah, the integrated functions are quite key actually.
And so they don't, does Shopify have a free version?
No, Shopify is not free. Etsy is free. And so
Mhm.
I would start on Etsy just because it's free. Shopify, I started with Shopify just because I knew that I was going to do wholesaling with stores and they want website.
Right.
So with this, like 2.5 years ago, I only had one store I was selling through. Now I have 15, and that's mostly because I just emailed people and said, hey, I just started this business. I'm a tarot reader. I make tarot clothes. I would love to sell this in your store. Link to the website, link to the Insta, so they always go to the Instagram first, find out what the vibe is, then they go to the web store, find out what I actually sell,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then you do enough of them, and someone's gonna respond back. And I would always follow up with like an Instagram DM and make sure I chatted with them a bit so they know I'm a person.
Right. But your Linktree is very, I have used Linktree as well. It's really
Mhm.
easy, and the free one, does get you some basics if that's where you want to start to just sort of learn
Yeah,
about.
I
Um,
wouldn't I wouldn't start with I wouldn't say you need the extreme link tree. Again, Linktree is super cheap. It's like 150 for a year. The only reason I went for it with Tooth and Claw was because I I just wanted it to look good because clothing is very aesthetic and it's fashion, so it's a very visual language. And for my art, I do a lot of facilitation, and artists can be a bit more factual. So having a clean white background actually was appropriate. So
yeah,
it's just about who you're working with and how you want to work it.
great. Okay, well let's get um, into this. Was sort of, we started talking about this a little bit, but the branding, the 4 pillars of branding for social media. So Heidi, you mentioned also 3 can be okay, but this was something Heidi actually did, uh, sort of when I was doing some work for someone else and needed to sort of sort through uh, finding their voice on social media, and this was a really good tool or a way of think or concept, I guess, a way of thinking about how to start planning my content. So was to pick these 4 pillars. Um, so like Heidi said, you know, if I was planning for my own artwork, it might be, for my theater work, for my community-based work, then personal. So it's all to show something about who I am and my stuff, and then maybe sharing something that might inspire me. And so that's 4 kind of things that I could kind of revolve my content creation around. And by organizing it like that, it just makes it very, simple. So when you're going to plan your content, especially if you're using later and you want to get a batch of posts to all your social media profiles, you have this like framework.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you want to speak more to that, Heidi?
You did it perfectly. I think that is really good. It's just like it's really good for getting you out of your head. If you know, okay, if you're thinking, what should I post? What should I post? Just go through your 4 pillars. I'm like, I'm Jenny. Okay, I don't really want to talk to my community engaged work right now. I don't really want to send a personal picture of my dog. I don't really want to talk about my theater, but you know what? I saw another artist. I really enjoyed their work, but I was so thoughtful. I'm gonna reshare. I'm gonna repost that on my Instagram. In the caption, I'm gonna tell them why I thought it was so good. I'm gonna tag the other artists so they know that I'm hyping them up. And that's networking too, right? Like that's also like that counts as networking. And that means that artist will probably hype you up later too. And it also just breaks it up. It can make it feel like it's not just about you. The hard thing about social media can make you like, oh, I have to, here's my art. Like, here's a t-shirt for Tooth and Claw. Oh, look, a patch for Tooth and Claw. Oh, wow. It can be kind of feel a little bit capitalistic, honestly.
I think too, you can sort of be like, oh, well, I posted, I posted my a patch yesterday, so maybe I should change it up. Sort of rotating through those four pillars really helped me.
Yeah.
Just sort of like make it feel like I was generating content that was like was
Yeah, and if you go through like a big branding switch, just go through your four pillars and see, are they all still relevant, or are there one of your pillars that need to be swiped out? What are you going to replace it with? And it allows you to transition because your brand will always be changing. What you're putting out there is going to be changing. It allows you to have a more gentle transition and let you just feel like you don't have to like stay to what you were doing forever. Like it's supposed to change.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Or if I think to myself, oh, I just integrated, like I just brought on other people for tarot times. Now we have a care team because I had my brand pillars set up on the one where for the questions I started just answering questions about the care team. For the lives, I started having a live with my care team. Just sort of integrating in that content so it was seamless for my viewers.
mm-hmm.
Keeping that because it's not people like use the word community. I wouldn't say it's a community because like there's 5,000 people that follow me on Tooth and Claw. I don't feel I'm in a community with them, but they are an audience and they are commenting and liking on your stuff, and they're responding to you, and they notice when you change things and do things. And one thing I would say is don't worry about having a lot of people at the beginning. Like with Tarot Times, I have like 2,000 people that follow me now, but that's after 4 years of posting regularly. And it started out with like 30 people, and half of them were my friends. And the people I worked with in the mall, because I made them all follow me. My coworkers, I made my coworkers follow me. But then what happens is that eventually, like every time every time I read for someone, they would follow me. Every time they told someone about them, they would follow me, and it slowly grows. And like that organic growth is really what's important. It doesn't matter how many people are following you. It just matters that you're giving them something that they can really relate to. So for those four pillars, really think about like, this is what really is a chance to express yourself, and like communication is sacred. Who you are is really important, and it is sacred. You are a sacred being. You're a special person in the world. There's only one you. It's all cheesy, but it's all true. And so what about you do you want to share with the world? What about your art? It really gets you going. What do you want to share? And it is vulnerable. People think, oh, it shouldn't be vulnerable. It is vulnerable. You're putting yourself out there on the internet. It's super vulnerable. But make sure that your pillars are something that you feel safe to share, because you can change your pillars as you go. And as you get used to, as you build your audience, you will, like, I feel way less nervous posting now to Tarot Times. So when I first started, because all of the more questions people ask me, that's a huge part of my pillars are questions people ask me. And it felt really vulnerable when I first started giving those answers out to people I didn't know. And then now I know there's certain people that always like the posts. I know who's watching them. I know who the general audience is, and I feel way more safe to be vulnerable because I have that trust build up with that audience, and I know the people that are like have been added. And if I look at the likes, I'm like, oh, I read for that person a few years ago. Oh, I read for that person a few years ago. Like, who these people are. They're not like, most of the time they're not random people. They're going to be people from your community. And so that's something to think about as well. The people that are going to be like you are people from your community. And if they're not people from your immediate community that you're in bumping distance with, or people that are in your aesthetic community, they're people that are they share your values, they share something that you're putting out there. So make sure you put something out there that really reflects you, and don't be afraid to be yourself. You
Hmm.
don't have to tell anyone where you live, but make sure your content is genuine because you want people to resonate with what you're doing. So it's going to make it easier for you in the long run.
And what about hashtags? Like, how many do you think is a good amount? Or if you're trying to sort of, sell your work, how many would you go with?
You're allowed to post 30,
Okay,
so I would do all 30.
you
Um,
would.
in the contemporary art scene, hashtags are looked down upon because honestly, the contemporary art world is very elitist. And if you don't know someone by word of mouth, but that's changing. Like the internet made everything a lot more democratic. And just make sure you have, so for hashtags, it's very similar. There's like 5 different categories. So one are 5 hashtags that you use all the time, everywhere. So that's like the name of my business. Like for Tarot Times, it's like Tarot Times with Heidi, Tarot Times, Tarot, like the basics. And then there's hashtags. You can have up to 20, anywhere from 5 to 20 of each category. But one of like basics that you always have, like the name of your business, your name, another one is things that your audience are into, so it's not based on anything in your post. So for Tarot Times, it's like astrology, yoga, crystals, because they'll speak healing, inner child. I'm not necessarily talking about that stuff, but the people who are Googling that stuff will also be interested in my post. The next one is what is in my post. Did I talk about what did I talk about in my post? So I did talk about inner child stuff, and I did talk about healing, and I did talk about vulnerability. So like, what are things from your post? And then another one is overall, what's your mood? What's your overall mood board as a company? So like grassroots, community care, stuff like that, more to do with my ethics or my values, something, the B-roll. And then the 5th one is kind of take it or leave it. It's like things that you're going to change into. So say I am going to make a business change in the future, but I haven't made it now, but I'm going to in the future. I would start putting some of those related hashtags in the post. And then when I release it, then I already am sort of changing my audience, preparing my audience, because people are using hashtags as Google. People use Instagram like a website. So the hashtags are Googleable, they're searchable. That's why you use them, because they're what people are searching in Instagram if they want to find local artists, hippie art, emerging art, whatever. I don't care what the hashtag is, whatever you think people are going to be searching for. If you want to pop up in that search, you make that a hashtag. That's basically what it is. And those 5 different categories are just different questions kind of to ask yourself, so you hit all the basics on every post, so you get the most. If you're going to put all that effort to make a post, you want to have it go the distance, which is also why I use Later, because they will tell you what's trending. So if I am lazy and I don't want to go through my 5 questions, I just go into Later and I put hashtag suggestions tarot, and they will suggest me post, and I just click them and they all go in there, and then that is your low barrier way to go. The last hashtag that should be on all of your posts is BHFYP. Stands for best hashtag for your post, and it will auto generate a hashtag based on what the people that are searching for, what they have looked for.
And that's on Later?
It's anywhere.
Oh, really? So what is that? Can you repeat that? I've never heard of that before.
Oh, you have, because I've done it in Center and Hammock. But best hashtag for your post, BHFYP, hashtag BHFYP.
Right.
It's just a hack.
Yeah.
It's an algorithm hack.
Cool.
It's super. Also, the more you tag people, the more you hashtag, the more it will bring your post up for circulation. All these things make Instagram, like the more content you put in the algorithm, the more the algorithm will favor you.
And when you're writing your descriptions, do you put the hashtags at the end, or do you put them throughout the the paragraph or the caption, or?
Some people do that. I don't. I do the caption first, then then the image description, then the hashtags, then the image credit. And some people put dots in between the image description and the hashtags just because some people think they don't look very good, which it's true, they don't look very good. You can also put all your hashtags as your first comment.
Right.
Oops.
Okay.
So I put the image description as my first comment sometimes as well, because it makes the image description stand out more sometimes.
Right.
And that's just personal choice and whatever is working best for you. Like if I don't have it in me, like generally hashtags are way easier than
Sort of
image
something.
descriptions. Yeah, perfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly what they did.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Just
So
sort of wondering what the best practices are, or what, you feel like
when,
works.
when you look at that and there's 4 dots, so you can see the first comment is the hashtags. It means that it won't show up as hashtags when you're scrolling Instagram. It'll show up as those 4 dots.
Mm-hmm.
So it's aesthetic. Some people like it like that, and some people like it like center all in one. And it's just aesthetic. For fashion, this is probably better. I know that I haven't, like I had to go back and add image descriptions. So my image descriptions for my earlier posts, like from a year and a half ago, were all in the comments. And then since getting on later, now they're in the actual posts, and that's probably better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But really, it's about personal preference. It doesn't really matter as long as it's there.
Yeah. Cool. So then, I mean, we've sort of been talking about content creation. But what would you have any other more advice in terms of when you're creating your content? I think the 4 pillars are a really strong way to format. We talked about hashtags and image descriptions. I know some of the things that I've been told is to always try and include contact information, or make sure your contact information is really clear. So say if you're posting an image of your work, and it's for sale, you need to let people, like DM me at your, or let people know how to get a hold of you, or email me, or go to the link in the bio, because with Instagram you can't click on a link in the caption, so that's where Linktree really can come in handy.
That's where Linktree comes in handy right there. And also if you do put, sometimes I do put the link right into the post, because if I change my Linktree, then it's not there anymore. So I will say, like, go to the Linktree, but then also here's a post below, because people on home computers can highlight it and put it in their search bar.
Mm.
And then it's good for like archival purposes. But yeah, that's why link in the bio is popular. Content creation. I just started taking pictures of stuff that I liked, like the mood boards, like my B-rolls. I started doing those first because I found them to be the easiest in my daily life. And then making sure to upload it to iPhotos, and then you can sync iPhotos to later. You can sync Dropbox to later. So you can sync your computer to later. So bringing all those photos into later, and just kind of making, I made sure I had a bunch of stuff material to work with. Like I didn't try to just pump it out. Like my business coach was really clear on it. She's like, Heidi, if you have to wait a month or 2 to get it all set up properly, but then it's going to be good to go, just take that month, take that month to do it in a way that you feel good about it. And he's like, the inverse is that if you feel like, I'm going to overthink it and it's going to have to be perfect, so I should just start now, just do that. Like everybody has different learning edges and things that they get hung up on with this. So just find the way that is the best for you, and just start there. Because you can always archive content. Like when I started my tarot times, for example, my brand pillars changed quite a bit as I did my business. And when I looked back at my early posts, they were way too personal. Like I didn't want that information up there. So I just archived them, and they were fine to post at the time. They got people to follow me. I got good likes, but you can always archive a post.
Right. So, yeah, is that something that you do regularly? Sort of go back into your feed and sort of adjust or take things away depending on how
About
you're
once a
feeling?
year. once a year I'll go through all of it and just be like, sometimes it's just based on like learning curves. Like I'm like, oh, that was too much information about I shouldn't have been so personal, you know. It's fine for the people that have seen it, they've seen it, but I don't need anyone that's going to go deep into my feed to see that, you know. Private, or oh, my brand has changed and actually I didn't go in that direction, and it kind of throws off people. It just throws off my feed. I'm just going to archive it, because you can always unarchive it later.
Yeah.
Or for a lot of artists, their art Instagram started off as a personal Instagram. So being able to go through and just like archiving the personal content, keeping some of it for the mood board quality, but then moving it more into online creation and having a distinct personal Instagram and art Instagram is really important. So I've helped a few friends, a lot of people do that actually. Where one of the people, here, Jenny, can you bring this up? I'll show you what it looks like. I just did this with one of the people in my care team. So you want to Google Ray of Sunshine, RAE .of .rae. RAE, Jenny?
Yeah, RAE, okay.
.of .sunshine. There it is, Ray of Sunshine 08 Rail.
Okay.
So this used to be, this is Rael, she's on the care team. This is her personal Instagram, but it used to be her business account too. So we now have Métis Carpenter in her bio. It said, so scroll up so I can see her bio.
Yeah.
Métis Carpenter friend, land lover, professional account for building and consultation is Balance Building. So click on Balance Building, Jenny. Now that was her personal account. Now this one is her public. So Métis Carpenter, Red Seal, Treaty 6 Territory, Cultural Sharing, Reflexology. For cultural sharing reflexology, see the link below, which is Tarot Times. For everything else, DM me. And then if you look through that feed, it is just all of her actual stuff.
Right.
You know? And it's not very many. Look, that's all that there is. Like there's not tons of content. There's like 12 images, but there really doesn't have to be more. You have a sense of what she's doing, and she's gonna post all her business content there. And you can go through, she's going to go through Ray of Sunshine, and if there's any business posts there, she's going to repost them to this feed. Right. So you're not necessarily losing content necessarily. You're just really wanting to make sure it's separate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because Balance Building is a post that she can just share with everybody for everything. And then Ray of Sunshine becomes family and friends. And so that's also where the vulnerability comes in. If you don't have a separate account, like I am safe to share business content on my businesses because I know I'm not spamming anyone. They have signed up to follow Tarot Time Society. They have signed up to get fashion at Buy Tooth and Claw Clothing. They have art at Heidi Natigal. And I have a personal one, and that's like 200 people. And that's where I post my stupid shit. You know, a friend came over, we made a fire. Yay!
Yeah, just your personal stuff.
It's just friends. Like, they don't need to know what I'm doing for work. They're not my clients.
Yeah.
And if they are, they can follow me on my work Instagrams. You know, that just that clarity of communication is really, that's the biggest hurdle I hear from a lot of artists actually, is that boundary piece.
Yeah. Okay. So we have about 15 minutes left. So let's talk about, next thing is accessibility. So we did talk a little bit about the image descriptions, which seems like a really important accessibility piece.
Hashtags are accessibility too. Finding things on the internet, hashtags. People do not talk about hashtags enough about accessibility. They are, if I wanted to find a Kootenai artist, I'm going to write Kootenai Arts. Right? Kootenai artist. How am I supposed to find out about Kootenai artists? Unless I like know someone who knows someone who knows someone who knows someone. It's not accessible. Make yourself accessible through hashtags. It's cheesy. I'm not gonna say that it's not cheesy. Especially, I grew up in the 90s. I called you on the telephone. I didn't use the internet. I didn't email you until I was in college. All of this stuff is very cheesy to me, but it is so important. Or like image credit. You know, someone took the photo, they did an amazing job. Their work needs to be accessible because we need to promote them. Or if you're reposting someone else's artwork, you're like, you have to say artwork by, and then you know, talk about why you're inspired by their work. Accessibility is accessibility information as well, you know. It's one of the reasons I put location in my all of my posts, because if someone, sometimes like for Tooth and Claw, I put nature photos in. So if someone's looking through my feed and they're like, oh my goodness, that looks like such a beautiful trail, I want it to be accessible. I want to tell them where I'm hiking, or usually walking. Where am I walking? Where am I? You know, like making all of the information from the visual description to the caption. When you're writing your caption, just use plain language. You don't have to impress anyone, you know. Just speak in a way that makes sense to you, makes sense to the people that you hope are reading.
Mm-hmm.
Be clear and open about, and generous. Think of it as generosity. Be generous with all the information,
Mm-hmm.
all the ways to contact you.
Right. And then captioning again is very important if you're doing lives, or you know, there are so many good softwares that can help us caption things. Just for folks who are deaf or hard of hearing, that's
Mhm.
really important.
Yeah, and 50% of people actually use closed captioning. So there's not 50%. 50% of humans are not hard of hearing. I'm hard of hearing. I'm like profoundly hard of hearing. So I use closed captioning for access, but also a lot of people use captioning. 50% of people look at the reels like on the bus or somewhere where it's on mute, you know. So when you're doing like actual like still images, the captioning is your captions. You know, explain the caption, have an image description, have your hashtags, have your image credit. If you're one of those people that starts writing and it's like, you know, this really reminds me of this piece that I saw here, or this other artist that I'm working with, tag them, you know. Or if you're like one other artist to talk to, you'd be like, tag them, be like, tag artist, do you see the connection between our works? I totally see it. I feel like we collaborated psychically on this one. It's so cool to be in connection with you. Thank you. And then not like I'm stealing your artwork, but it's okay to acknowledge that like you're both thinking about the same things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I feel like I found a really cool artist that I feel really akin to. I've never met this person, but I feel like there's a real resonance in our work. I feel like I really like the way they reference land and community or whatever, and have those like the Instagram can be a really cool place of finding friendship and finding cool collaborations with people.
A question that I have that sort of, you know, harkens back to some of the other topics we were talking about, but is liking other people's posts and commenting on other people's posts, is that important for the algorithm?
100%. Oh, I can't believe, thank you for asking. I can't believe I didn't talk about this. It's very important for the algorithm. About every day, there's about 2 or 3 people that like my post, just because every time you like someone else's post, so I like other people's posts and I find people to share. Every time you like or share something, the algorithm says that your accounts are similar. And so at the bottom of the screen, it says accounts you may like, and they'll just promote you for free. So even if all you're doing is liking other people's accounts, it will still help the algorithm. Even if you're like Rael and you only have 12 posts up there, doesn't matter. Those 12 posts are solid. You all know that she's a wicked carpenter, you know, and you have a good sense of what she does. And if you needed her, you just DM her. But if she's liking other posts, she will be recommended to other carpenters, other people that like carpentry, other women in trades, especially if she's using the hashtag, that she's going hashtag Métis, hashtag women in trades, she's going to be recommended. She's going to be in that data cache basically. And it's important to use, like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, if you're not using this stuff, you feel like Instagram is using you. And when you're using these tools, you're using Instagram.
Right. It's very empowering. Yeah. Any other notes on accessibility?
Don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of being wrong on it. You will suck at the beginning and you will get better. And it's just like anything, you can't bypass learning. As long as you're genuine. Even in later posts, I've even said, like, listen, I've been very terrible at doing image descriptions. You know, I'm going to try to do them more going forward. I'm going to edit the ones to include them in the past. And people have been very, like, I have a lot of people that follow me just for small business squares stuff. So then they'll be like, oh, that's so cool. I should do the same thing with my account. So I'm like, yeah, totally do it. Like, we're not here to shame each other, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So yeah, website creation. This was something we wanted to talk about
Mm.
briefly. We talked a little bit about Shopify. I wanted to talk about a couple of other options. Maybe you folks have heard of them. There's Squarespace or Wix. Squarespace, I've used a lot to make my own website. These are, WYSIWYG editors, meaning what you see is what you get. So you don't need to know any coding. You don't need to know any ways. You don't need to know how to make the website either. Really user friendly. I think Squarespace is more user friendly, but I think Wix actually is a little bit more accessible price wise.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sorry, Wix. Wix has basically a fully free version if you're okay with having your web address have a sort of, it would be like jennycraig.wix.com. So it will still, you
Do
can,
tarottranswithheidi.ca. It's a Wix website.
oh yeah, okay. Tarot times.
And it is a paid website, and the only reason I got paid is just because I wanted it to be tarot times with .ca, sorry.
If you do want your own domain, both of these softwares will allow you to purchase the domain through it. But yeah, I think Wix is actually a little bit cheaper, and they have loads of templates to choose from. It's really quite easy. So yeah, so you made this on Wix, Heidi.
Mhm.
Did you make it or did someone?
Raven made it.
Okay.
I
Great.
could have made it, but I get overwhelmed. Like for me, I get kind of like frozen when I think about websites. But I feel like because I had to redo the Shopify website, I feel like that's sort of thawing out. I guess
Right.
okay not to be excellent at everything all at once.
Right. So this basically goes to your Shopify site.
Yeah, this doesn't go to Shopify because I have merch for Tarot Times, which is called T-shirt Times. And in this one, I use something called Spring, which is a free app we're going to use for Amex. This is how we're doing it.
Oh, right. So Spring is the
So if you
printing.
want to make hoodies and tote bags and stuff.
Yeah, Spring is a cool software. I think this is cool for artists if you want to make, if you have images that you want to print on t-shirts or something, it prints for you and ships straight from the printing facility, right? I haven't used it, but
It's
yeah.
great because it's all calculated into the cost. And so it's a really low barrier way of setting it up. And this is a free version, by the way. You can bring it onto Shopify and then be able to make a website, but I haven't promoted this line very much, so there's no need. I don't have any income from this basically.
Right.
Because you found it the only way that people find it.
Cool. Yeah, I think like with Wix or Squarespace, how I learned was really just by trying. So just by practicing, just by trying some things out. But the learning curve was pretty low. It's very user friendly, and they do have e-commerce options within Wix or within Squarespace. If you weren't doing Shopify or an external link, I think the easiest way to get something set up to sell is you can make a product through your Wix site and just have a PayPal address to pay with. So it's, you wouldn't even need to worry too much about credit card payments or anything too complex. You can just have a PayPal address where somebody can use that link. But everything, both Squarespace and Wix really walks you through through building these things. So and there's lots of good resources. So, in the resources tab, there's tons of different videos, etc., on how to do those things. So either one I think is a great option. But yeah, Wix, I think if you want to save some money, I think that's the best one because you wouldn't even have to put out any money to get a website up and running. Yeah. Anything more to share on websites, Heidi?
No, I think that's good. Do you want to share the Center Center website? Because I think you built it through Wix
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, and this is really like, very, very basic at this time. I think it's a CA.
Or the .org.
Oh,
But
.org.
it's also like people just need something to Google. They need something to link. Half the
Yeah.
time, this is all it is. It's just it's just the viewer so we can look at our guidebook that we just finished.
Yeah, this was sort of a project that we made last year, and so this is just really we just made this really just to have a place online for our project, and then it links to our Instagram and to our Facebook.
And then when you get it's always good to start somewhere. So if we get another grant, then like Jenny has time to make it a little better. It's like that's the thing about all these things is that all these tools, just pick the one that is the least barrier for you and get started there because all of this stuff is connected. You don't it's all connected and you're allowed to learn. Like I couldn't have done this presentation when I started doing my small business. I learned all these skills through doing my small business.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so that that's a very like we're skimming that, but I think with these WYSIWYG editors, I really just suggest that people dive in, sign up for a free account, and try some stuff out. There's lots of templates that you can adjust. And then the other thing, oh, there's something in our chat. Sorry, I didn't even notice. Yes, Kaylee. So maybe we want to ask if there's any questions.
Yeah. We can maybe stop the screen share.
Yeah, for sure.
Unless there's more.
I think the other thing I was just going to mention was newsletters, but maybe because we're coming up on 11:30, so if anybody is going to head out at 11:30, it would be great to know if there are questions. Just put up your hand in the Zoom or add them to the chat.
Yeah, just use MailChimp. MailChimp is free until you get 2,000 people, at which point you're a star and you'll have to pay for it.
Yeah, MailChimp, or there's another one called Sendinblue. I think that what we'll do is we'll put together a little resource guide with all these links because I know we've gone through lots and lots. So we'll put a little document together and send it out to you folks, and Kaylee and Samante, you can have it to send to any folks who request it if they watch the live recording, and that can have all the info on all these tools and just try stuff. Samante asks, can you mention the company you use to print? Heidi?
I use Grandma printing on the Drive, so I don't know if that's successful for you, but they're dirt cheap. Are you thinking of Are you thinking of Spring for printing those clothes? It's called Spring, spring.com. Yeah, okay, yeah, Spring. Spring is everybody needs to know about Spring. It's you don't need to have any merch in your house. You can choose between organic cotton. You can have spring.com. Yeah, exactly. You can is very accessible, very low barrier.
Yeah, I've known a few artists who sort of have just put up images that they've made and then posted through their Instagram, like you can get a t-shirt with my stuff from this site, and I think they charge you as per sale, which is kind of nice because you don't have to put out any money.
Yeah, and the free one has spring.com and their name in it, but if you pay for Spring, then he'll have your name in it. You don't have to use the spring.com.
Yeah. Anything else? I hope that we've talked about some useful things. Feel free to email us or send us a direct message.
Center.
Yeah, center, or in our resource guide, we'll send you the info too, and we're happy to chat.
Yeah, just DM us there at that account, and then it's hello@gmail.com.
I think the website might be springprint.com.
Oh, okay.
was just doing some mad Googling over.
Thanks. I hadn't used it, so.
Yeah, no, me neither. Great suggestion. I think Samantha is going to officially wrap us up, but I just wanted to say thank you. And I know that here at West Kootenai Regional Arts Council, we will definitely be using those 4 pillars, and the 5 categories of hashtags is something that is going to be super helpful for me going forward. So thank you both for all of those tools.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. I'm so happy you were able to join us. I think, yeah, I think people will get a lot out of this in terms of just making it feel a little less overwhelming with just like picking 5 things. I can at least talk about 5 things. I also use that strategy, and that's really helped me as well. So I think that was a huge tip. So yeah, I think unless there's anything else you want to say at the very end here,
Oh, thanks,
I will maybe
Darius.
wrap up. Awesome. Yeah, so yeah, thanks for your presentation. We were really happy to have you.
Have a great afternoon, everyone.
Thanks for having us.
Morning, afternoon.
Bye.